Welcome to Energizing Life with AKR Fitness. I'm Jase.
I'm Lynsey.
I'm Mike.
Oh, look at that. That was just beautiful. How are we doing, team?
Yeah, good. Fighting fit.
Fighting fit?
Ish.
Ish.
Coffee's in, breakfast done, ready to go.
Pro-caffeinated, you say?
Yes.
Good stuff. Today we are talking all things motivation, which I'm looking forward to diving into. How about you, Lynsey?
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it sits well with the episodes we've had before. So
Amazing. Mike, explain motivation. What is it and how do people view it?
Yeah, well, I think a good place to start is how it's commonly perceived and commonly viewed. And to me, we can discuss this, people view motivation as this sort of binary, this on-off thing. This
Switch.
Yeah, you've either got it or you don't. It's almost like a fire. You know, you're either fired up or you're not.
Burning hot or burning cold?
Yeah, I mean, would you agree with that?
I would
Yeah,
agree.
absolutely, yeah.
Hear it all the time in our strategy sessions. People coming in for motivation.
Yeah, so consider so the sorts of things people say, lines like that you hear a lot. I'm just not motivated, or I need someone to motivate me, or
I need a kick up the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that a lot. The other day I had somebody in, I just need you to hit me with a stick to get me going. I'm like, well, that's not the right place for that, but it's that sort of thing.
It's sorry, Jase. what you-
I was going to go on that one, but I'll leave it.
Yeah, it's this. It's like we need this something to motivate us, something external, and also like it's this thing that can't be controlled. You know, some people just say, "Oh, I've lost motivation; it's gone."
Yeah.
And then I guess we just have to wait until somehow it comes back again, and that fire burns again, and then the fire goes out, things like that.
I think we've all got examples in our own lives where we've gone through that. Like it's, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's heard of Eric Thomas,
I know. Yeah.
the hip hop preacher.
Yeah.
He did the video "How Bad Do You Want to Breathe," which you watch that video and that's it. Let's go. You're fired up and you're pumped, and then 5 minutes afterwards you're back to square, all the way back down. So it's that just fueling that fire.
Yeah.
And for it to go out.
If you type in motivational video on YouTube,
Yeah.
you're going to get something. Maybe it's like a training montage, like Rocky or things like that. Something that gets you going. But is that motivation? Not sure. Could it be motivating? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think again, that's most people have a very limited view of motivation. I think where it serves is when you've got that fire, it feels great. You know, and I've been to seminars where it's not until a few days later that you realise, geez, there wasn't much actionable content there. It was just someone like firing you all up, chase your dreams down, sort of things. You know.
You've mentioned before that you did your thing in California. That must have fired you up.
Yeah.
That's the most fired up.
Hoorah, American thing ever.
Yeah, that's probably a good example where, and don't get me wrong, I think there's a place for getting someone to believe in themselves and to believe that they can do things.
100%.
I think that has its place, but sometimes afterwards you're like, once that fades, the thing with fires is that, they can get really hot and then they can burn out.
Yeah.
So it feels good. But if we're talking about, as we have done, particularly in season 1, about the journey is the goal and fitness is an infinite game, I'm not sure that you can rely on this fire burning all the time. And it, it can be frustrating sometimes to hear people, I'm sorry, I've lost motivation. It's like, well, we can't expect that fire to burn constantly.
No.
So that's the limit, I think, of that view of motivation.
Even like an example for me is preparing for an event we have here, the AKR Games, but actually seeing it through, so preparing for it, planning for it, getting super excited, sort of this big group of people that are coming into the gym and it needs to be organised, and then being a part of it and training, so like training for it as well as preparing for it, having the day, being, oh my God, and then after it just being like, whew. But I had that to look forward to, and that would give me the fire to just really go for it and be motivated for it. So it was a sort of external
think it's a nice segue to start to introduce the different types of motivation.
Yeah, so a couple of episodes back, we spoke about self-determination theory and the research in that. And to bring that on another step, if you will, is that the research suggests that motivation is not this on-off thing, but it exists rather than an on-off switch. It exists on a continuum or on a spectrum. So there's different types of motivation. And I think when people can recognize the different types, they can lean on them in different ways and they consider their own motivations, and it can make it much easier to stay on track.
Yeah. I like to see this spectrum. I like to think of it as buckets. And obviously the buckets aren't always full or empty. Some are full, some are half full, some got a little bit in it. And you take from different buckets to move forward. So let's go through them. Let's just name them all, and then we'll start at the beginning and describe each one. So you have amotivated, you have external, introjected, identified, integrated, and then finally intrinsic. So let's start with amotivated. Mike?
So yeah, bucket number one, and I would say to people that the names can be confusing.
Yeah.
I think when you first
Even
learn
for
them,
me.
Just to clarify, I actually looked at a board and a little bit.
because three of them begin with I and they sound similar. The names aren't that important, but hopefully we can talk through them a little bit and people can get an understanding.
Yeah.
So the first one is very easy. Amotivated basically just means you are not motivated. You're not doing it. Not interested.
No.
You don't care. You don't believe you can. Whatever it is, you don't have the skills or the tools. You're
not going anywhere with it.
And I think one thing I hope would be helpful is we'll take one example and run through all the buckets with it. So let's say it's someone.
I think Jenna mentioned this in our interview, is when after the marathon, she didn't care about fitness anymore.
Yeah,
it just wasn't for her.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm not doing it.
So marathon running's a good example. So let's take amotivated. This person is just not going for a run. I don't care. I'm not running. I'm not doing it. So bucket number.
Sunday.
Sorry.
Me every Sunday.
Bucket number two.
Bucket number two is external.
External. So that's when someone they are motivated to do it, but they're motivated for a punishment or a reward that is outside of them. And I think this is the fire one, the carrot and the stick that that's where most people's, they've only got the two buckets. They've got, I'm not doing it, or I'm doing it to get the thing.
Again, I'm going to go back to Jenna's interview when she did sign up for the marathon, and she was doing it for charity, and she had donations, and she had to do it.
Yeah, she hated it.
She hated it, but she
hated every step of the way. The only reason she kept going was because of that.
Because of her friend. Yeah.
So again, let's say that this person, if we're just saying someone going for a run, this person is going to go for a run on the Sunday morning, but the only reason they're going to do it is because they've got a 5K in a few weeks' time, and it's important to them to get a PB at the 5K, or not embarrassed. Well, get a PB, we'll say. At the 5K. So that's where you're doing something only to avoid a punishment or to get a reward.
Which works for a short period of time, but can run out quickly.
Again, let's talk about Jenna's marathon. So the plus side is that external motivation, the fundraising, the fact that there was a friend and things, that got her to do it, but she has never run since.
Yeah.
So that was the cost. It's short-lived, and it can actually be damaging because of the I think she touched on it, the pressure, and it feels controlling. And we said before, when something feels controlling, people rebel. I did a 10K was it 3 years ago or something, and I do occasionally go for a run, and I don't know if I enjoy running, but I like the feeling I get from it. But when it got to the stage that I was only running because I had the 10K, I was under pressure to run, and
it's different.
I didn't want to run anymore.
No.
You've experienced that as well, have you? Not with the running, but you did a challenge.
Which one?
The tactical
strength challenge. Yeah. The God, how many years ago was that? Mike,
back in my day.
I think it was 3.5.
3.5 years ago. Something that I signed up for. So I was like, this could be quite interesting. Max deadlift, max pull-ups, and max kettlebell snatches in 5 minutes. But I thought, I quite enjoy this. And obviously the reward at the end of it was on a global scale, because you were put on a
global leaderboard.
Yeah, pretty much, and you could see where you were with it. So that gave me the motivation to be like, oh, right, okay, so where am I? I want to be good. I want to be the best at this. You sign up for it. You enjoy the training. Did I enjoy the training? I think so. There was bumps in the road. Times where I thought, this is disgusting. I don't want to do it anymore. And then there were times that I really enjoyed it. And the day was great, but I was broken after it. So I enjoyed it, and I think I was externally motivated because I wanted to be the best in my age group. Yeah. But I probably didn't do it again, no.
And the thing is, so I did the same event, and I would say the whole experience was a positive one for me. So what we're not saying is that external motivation is bad or wrong. And again, to go back to Jenna's story, she was externally motivated, to get in the best shape she could for her wedding. She was I guess the deadlift was maybe a little bit different, but the fact that she wanted to deadlift 100 kilograms was an element of that was external motivation. So it's not that it's right or wrong. It's a way.
It's a way in almost.
It's a way to get you moving.
Yeah.
But there are other buckets, and the downside of external motivation is that it can feel controlling and it can be short-lived, and inevitably people, if it's over a longer period of time, they will rebel.
Yeah. Okay. Bucket number 3 is introjected. You want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so introjected can be a little bit sort of external, a little bit internal. People are now doing it. I guess they're rather than external punishment and reward, they're doing it for internal punishment and reward. But it's
because they're guilty. That feeling of guilt.
Yeah. So it's almost like avoiding negative consequences. So it's they're doing it because they don't want to feel guilt or shame. Or on the other side, they're doing it for ego. It's kind of like like social consequence. Like what are people going to think? And we have so many people who exercise because I'll feel guilty. Again, let's take our runner. So amotivated, he wasn't going to go for a run. External, he or she were going to go for the run, but only because they've got the 5K coming up. For the introjected, they're going for the run because they'll feel guilty if they don't go for the run. Yeah. Or maybe if you're in a team, it's because you'd be afraid of letting someone down or something like that. Yeah.
All right, from there we go into identified.
It almost seems like a turning point for the runner.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's certainly when the motivation becomes a little bit more owned and a bit more positive. So this is identified is when you're doing it for because you like the thing you get from it, or you like how you feel from it, or it's somehow important to you. Jenna spoke about feeling strong in her deadlift. I think that's like she's not deadlifted. Yes. So this is an important point as well, because your motivation isn't going to be exclusively in a single bucket. So 100 kilos is an arbitrary number, and it's external. So there's a little bit of that for Jenna doing that deadlift. But identified was like, I like the feeling I get from it. I like feeling strong and things like that. And that's where it becomes a bit more positive.
Yeah, I like what you said there about your motivation isn't only in one bucket. Like sometimes you need to pick from different buckets to move forward and keep going.
Yeah, and so the runner in this case, they're running because this is where I'm at with running, actually. I don't really enjoy running. It's not that important to me, but I like the feeling I get from it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it to avoid guilt or shame or to give myself an ego boost. I've not booked any 5K events or anything like that.
This time.
It's just, I know if I run, I tend to feel a bit better, and fitness is important to me and things like that. But it could be still goal oriented. Like I'm doing it because I want to lose weight, but that's of personal importance to me. So you're identifying with the reasons for the activity.
Okay, moving on. Integrated. So that's kind of just where you were getting to there.
Yep.
Keep going. Go for it.
So integrated sounds like this. It's just a part of who I am.
Yeah, we've heard that a few times in the...
Yeah, I think Ryan said in his interview a couple of episodes back, he was like, this is just what Ryan does.
Yeah, Jenna mentioned it as well.
Yeah.
This is who I am.
Yeah, so to take a runner, they're running because they're a runner.
Yeah, they identify as a runner.
Yeah, they see themselves as a runner. So they don't need to book an event. They're not avoiding guilt or shame. It's just like, I'm a runner, so I run. They don't need to psych
themselves up in order to put their trainers on to get out the door. It's just part of their routine.
Yeah, writers write, Runners run.
Potatoes, potato. And
Haters hate.
how long can we keep that going? The last
Wait a
bucket.
minute, were you going to say alligators?
Alligators, alligate.
Okay.
The last bucket is intrinsic. Now this is the ultimate, isn't it? It's where you want to get to, I guess.
Yeah, so in this case, the runner the person loves running.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it because it's fun. Jenna mentioned this with her messy kitchen project. Like, it's not a job. It's not a source of income. No one's asking her to do it or anything like that. It's just like, you know what? I just love being in the kitchen. I love cooking. I like making nice things. And I think Ryan was the same in his interview. We could talk about his journey where he first came to us. His motivations were largely externally orientated. So there was the refereeing stuff, there was times, there was a specific body shape and a look he had to go for. And guess what? That worked. Like, that motivation worked because it got him into action. But it strikes me that he feels in a better place now, where he doesn't have the pressure and things like that. It's just, do you know what? This is who I am. I go out on my bike and I eat these foods and I feel this way.
Yeah.
I would say I'm probably there with exercise. Sorry, not intrinsic, but the one before integrated. I don't feel like in the gym, and I know we've had a discussion about this, Mike, that I go in there and I love everything that I'm doing and I'm having the best time. But I do think it's who I am. It's a part of my life. And I'm okay with it not being, oh my God, I love this. Yeah. There might be points throughout the year where I'm training for something and I'm really involved in it and I am loving it.
You do love it.
But the majority of the time, it's like, actually.
That highest level, intrinsic motivation, is when you do the activity purely for the activity's sake.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the simplest way to ask yourself is, if there were no health and physical benefit from lifting weights, would you still do it? Yeah. And I don't know if I would do it, but...
See, I think that's where I'm, like, I like to take the Pareto principle of this 80-20. I'm 80% intrinsic, whereas I genuinely love training. And I probably would do it if there was no benefit from it. And I'm 20% motivated, externally motivated, and where I kind of do it to prove a point that I can do it. Or if someone's like, oh, you can't do that, I'm like, give me a minute.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have to dig into different buckets. I think I had a conversation with you last week where I was like, I wasn't loving training. And every now and again I'll get that, but I have to dig into a different bucket where it's like, am I the type of person who trains, or am I not the type of person who trains? Am I the person who misses it and then feels bad the rest of the day? So do I want to feel guilty, or do I do it just because it's who I am? And I did it. I got through the session. I ticked the box, and I think it's important to realise that you have to dig from all of them.
I think the questions you ask yourself. So let's start like the highest end. The most peak form of motivation is just when you love doing the thing. You don't need to like motivate kids to go play in a playground. Like, it's fun.
Or an example, like 2020 Olympics are on at the moment.
2021.
Well, it says 2020. So those athletes will be very much intrinsically motivated. They're at the top of their game.
I guess
I would disagree.
I would go to the Olympics because I want a gold medal.
Yeah. I would say...
Not that they love it and they've enjoyed it all their life.
It's weird you say this, though, because I was watching it last night and I can't remember the name of the swimmer that Claire Baldwin was interviewing, but he basically said that Adam Peaty is going to take gold. Everyone else is competing for second, except this, I think it was a Colombian guy, who's competing because he wants to get a better time for him. He's like, and he's been noted on several interviews saying, I don't really care about a medal. I just want to go and PB my time. Which, part of me is like, really? Like, you're going to the Olympics and you don't want a gold medal? But at the same time, I'm like, actually, it's quite noble in the fact that, you know, you're not afraid to just go, I'm not actually that bothered if I win the gold. I'm there to compete against me to get my best time.
Intrinsic?
I think by the very nature of putting competition onto it, it probably becomes a little less intrinsic, because there's the external. Absolutely, there's the external of medals and times. Like Usain Bolt, it's maybe a dated reference now, but he's not running 100 metres in the Olympics just because he loves to run. He's running to win. I think that's the difference.
What about you with your, sorry to interrupt, but with your football and being the top of the league, would that be an external, or?
Well, let me come back.
Yeah.
So in the Olympics, then I would also imagine that like the introjected part is in there because of the ego involvement and the guilt and the shame and the weight of the nation on an athlete's shoulders. And then when we go up, like, is the identified piece of, okay, I'm an athlete, so they're motivated to train because they see themselves as an athlete. The intrinsic part is possibly like they got into the sport for the love of the sport. And there's an element of that. But I think that's a really good example of being across buckets and so many different factors being involved. To go to me, like, I said that, I don't know if I would lift weights and train in the gym purely for the activity's sake. If there was zero health benefit, I don't think I would do it. Like, I enjoy what I get from it, so that's identified motivation. I also am now I see myself as the sort of person who keeps himself fit and healthy, so that's integrated motivation. There are times I enjoy it, but I don't think really, and the difference, talking about football, like if you just give me a football and a patch of grass, I will just happily kick around the football and have fun.
Run around for a few hours.
Yeah, but not because I feel great afterwards, not because it makes me fitter, just because I like doing the thing. And I think that's the key point. But in health and fitness, it's unrealistic for a lot of people. So do you remember Jenna said about the idea that fit and healthy people run, that's what they do. And Ryan also said there was an expectation at his work that he had to eat a strict diet and bland foods. So similarly, I think people who aren't into like health and fitness culture, they think that you've got to love it. You've got to be, these people must really love that. You've got to be intrinsic.
Yeah.
Now for me, and again, Jenna's stories reflects this as well. Sometimes I'm exercising because there's an external goal. We spoke about the tactical strength challenge. So my training that day, I'm in the gym or I'm running a 5K or there's something that's getting me in the gym. Other times it's, I identify, like, I like the feeling. So, do you know what? I'm feeling a bit crappy today, but I know if I go for a walk or if I do a bit of stretching or whatever, I'll feel better. It's identified. Other times it's that integrated. Like, well, am I the sort of person who does this or doesn't do it?
Yeah.
I am. Okay, well, I've got to get myself in and I'm going to train. So it's this mix of buckets that we can draw upon.
I think it's so important for the listener to understand that as well. What you've just said there, explained it well, that you will go through that continuum on a daily basis, maybe weekly basis,
you
monthly.
need to drink from different buckets in order to move forward again.
Yeah, the problem though is, again, if we go back to how we started with that limited view where people only have amotivated and external, is they're relying over and over on it. So one example, I trained this guy years ago before I opened the gym, and he used to be a marathon runner. So again, that's how he identified himself. But, you know, life...
As a marathon runner.
Yeah. And as a marathon runner, guess what he did?
Ran marathons.
He ran
I'm
marathons.
hoping.
Yeah.
I know somebody like that.
And so but life changed. You know, he had 2 young kids, and marathons take a lot of time, a lot of training and things like that. And he was no longer able to fit that into his life. You know, work had got more intense and things like that. And so he'd stopped running marathons and, you know, he'd gotten out of shape. And so so that's at that point he came to see me. But he just couldn't see beyond, like, his only source of motivation was, well, I'll just book a marathon. And if I book a marathon, that will force me external motivation. It'll force me to train. And I got to the stage, I was like, are you going to run 2 marathons a year for the rest of your life? What we want to try and do is work our way up the continuum, up the spectrum. So yes, you might not ever enjoy another form of health and fitness just for its own sake, but can we begin to identify with what we get from this other activity? Can we begin to make that part of our life?
Yeah, it's such an important message. I've actually got a note here that says, Mike example about running a hill. I want to hear this example.
Yeah, well, this is exactly. I'm glad you remind me of that, because I like this example. It's kind of quirky.
He loves it.
Zoom in on that one.
It's kind of quirky. So when I've spoken before on this show that I was a freelance personal trainer in a big box gym, and my flat was 5 minutes away from the gym, but it did involve a very short but very steep hill. And I had this thing where I ran the hill. Every time I went to the gym, and sometimes I would go to that gym 3 times in one day because I'd go to and fro. But I was thinking about it, and the first time I ran the hill was probably purely external motivation. I was probably just running a little bit late and needed to get there quickly. So I ran the hill. With time though, I'm trying to get this right. I think I'll probably skip that introjected one. But after that, I probably identified with the feeling I got from running the hill. So you run the hill, you get this little burst of energy, surge of adrenaline, and you're like, okay, that's me set up to go in and train this next person. But after a while, I identified with it, so I saw myself as the guy who runs the hill. And at that stage...
Did you ever walk it after that?
I was going to ask the same question. Do you ever go past that hill now and just...
I never
right
go past
up
the hill. But at that stage of being identified with it, it's easier to run it than to not run it.
Yeah.
And there was literally like, I don't know, a little line of tarmac or something. And when I got to that bit, I just ran because I'm the guy who runs the hill. Now, I never got to the stage of intrinsic, like, man, I just love running the hill. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not realistic. There's things you do in your daily life, like chores in the house, like emptying the bins, things like that you're never going to love the activity for the activity's sake. Now, if you can get that to that stage, no one's going to need to motivate you to do it, like me with the football. But realistically, there are things you probably need to do that you're not going to get to that stage with. But if you can get to that stage where it's just what you do, it's just how you see yourself, it's who you are, then it's that's where we want to get to, rather than going back to my client in the past, always having to book something, always to have some sort of punishment or reward, a carrot or a stick to cajole and control you into action. It's limited that way, and your experience of it is not as positive. It doesn't feel so good. It's pressure.
A lot of what Jenna said was like she wants to do it now. She wants to lift the weight. She feels good about it. And I think like once you get to that point with the activity that you're doing, it's not going away.
No. Start doing something for you, and then it becomes habitual.
Yeah, and I think it's important to stress that the journey and the transition up the continuum or up the spectrum of motivation, it takes time, and it takes maybe a bit of reflection on what you're getting from the activity. Again, if we go back and listen to Jenna and listen to Ryan, the reasons for exercise have changed so much, just maybe by putting themselves in a different environment or reflecting on why they do what they do. So it can take time, and it's an acquired taste, I think, as well. Sometimes like the fitness stuff.
Yeah.
Don't know, did we mention that before about like olives for me? I probably had to eat them time and time again before I eventually liked them. And I think fitness is like that. People are very much external when they first come into fitness. They're doing it because they want to lose weight or get in shape, or there's a wedding or something
Somebody's
like
told
that.
them.
But in the right environment, we spoke about self-determination theory.
Yeah.
When your basic psychological needs are met and you've got that sense of autonomy, of competence and relatedness, that's what helps you move up this continuum. So you start saying, okay, well, like Jenna going for, she said, I'm going to go out on the bike, but not because I have to. It's just because I want to do it. Enjoy it. I'll feel better when I do it. Things like that. There's different reasons than I've got a holiday coming up.
Yeah.
You took self-determination theory into there, and that's such an integral part as well of motivation and keeping going. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
I'm not sure. I need a moment. Lynsey?
You didn't expect me to ask him that,
No,
did you?
it was actually, I'm going to second that. I think if you can find somewhere, like a place that you can feel all those three things, or an activity where you start to enjoy it, you'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
You'll continue to want to come back.
Absolutely.
And see progression and enjoy it, being a part of something. So I think that was a really good point.
I think I'm trying to think like what's the action or the takeaway for the listener. And so first of all is actually like let's consider let's with this knowledge now start viewing motivation a bit more broadly, and let's look at some of the reasons that you have for doing some of the things you do. Like you could take anything you did today or tomorrow or yesterday, you were motivated to do for one reason or another. So was it out of habit or what you did? Did you do something you enjoyed? Was it an external reason you needed to clean the house because you got visitors coming round or something like that?
My mum's coming.
Yeah. Maybe you're the sort of person that loves cleaning the house. There are people.
I do enjoy that, I will say.
And also going back to the first episode of season 3, we spoke about the self-sabotage stuff, and I think there's a piece there about values and goals, and so I think a little bit of looking into there about like what's important to you.
Yeah. What do you actually want?
Yeah, and so sometimes that helps you identify with the goal, because it's like, okay, how can I link my goal to my set of values? What's most important to me in life? Or if not, is there a way to, adjust how I see my values in order to meet my goal? We have someone, one of our members, who sees AKR not just as their health and fitness, but it's their social place, it's their mental health place, it's all that, and linking it all together can help view your reasons for doing the thing differently.
Yeah, that's awesome. Powerful stuff again. Is there anywhere that people can learn a little bit more about motivation?
I think we touched on a couple of books a couple of episodes back. They're not the...
Remind us of them again?
Yeah, they're not the only ones, but I like the book Why We Do What We Do by Ed DC. There was like Drive by Daniel Pink, which is a bit more sort of pop science stuff. But if someone were to simply to Google self-determination theory or continuum spectrum of motivation,
podcast as well, there's loads of stuff on it.
Yeah. It's brilliant stuff. Anything you'd like to add before we wrap this up?
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Good?
Yeah.
All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure having you two here again.
Thank you, Jase.
And again, if you need anything, you want to reach out, it's akrfitness.com. If you're using a hashtag, it's
Energising Life podcast.
There you go. And we'll see you on the next one.